Welcome to our 3-part pod series, Rewatch Pod, on the Beatles Get Back documentary.
Oh, God,
dude.
dude.
Now on Disney Plus. I can't believe Tom agreed to do this. Oh, my.
Oh, I would rather do anything you could think of.
Stick 9-inch nails in each one of my eyelids? Even I don't want to do that. They're very long, but I enjoyed watching them. I know you did, and I texted you and said something about it, and you were like, maybe they're having trouble writing stuff in that first episode because they're so bad at doing it. I was like, I walked right on into this one, Tom. Inexplicably, I still think it's a front for something else, something deeper. But anyway, no, we're here to do a Christ core act, as phrased by you. And I don't know if you just want to roll the intro and wonder aloud later if it's the first of those we've done or not.
Let's do it.
Let's get into it.
What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we had done much Christcore before, because this is when our musical taste really started diverging. I think you might have mentioned at this point you were working at that college radio station like 2008-ish, and you were getting more into indie. I was just discovering Christcore in 2007, 2008, and I went down that path. So we've kind of avoided the topic because it's not something that we really knew that intimately together, but I was hella into this entire genre, all of Christcore. I went to Scream the Prayer tour in 2008 in Cleveland and saw all those big acts.
When you say all those, let's list them, because we're wondering if we even have done any of these before. Who are the main players here? Let's really do broad scope, zoom out.
So from what I can remember, Scream the Prayer tour specifically had Sleeping Giant, For Today, Here I Come Falling, in a Graceful. I think War of Ages also played, which they were from Erie, right? But other acts that are like the big Christcore names, I could think of Attack Attack, The Devil Wears Prada. Norma Jean and The Chariot are some of my favorites, but I feel like they were kind of on the fringes of this. I think of August Burns Red, Oh Sleeper. I think My Children, My Bride might have been Christian. I don't remember. I kind of lumped them in with Oh Sleeper as well, which was, again, one of my favorites. Yeah, I loved For Today. Ooh.
One thing I'll ask is this. So this is, we've talked about Reliant K before, kind of the whole, you and I were both raised Catholic. There's the whole youth group culture, taking trips to amusement parks, things like that. But Reliant K portion of this Christian rock situation, is it even a slice of the same pie? By the way, this is our first stab at an Underøath episode, so we're just kind of dipping our feet into these waters. Is it a different pie? Where are the slices going? What's going on? Are there branches to trees and mixed awful metaphors? Where are we here in relation to what we have talked about in the past?
Yeah, that's interesting. So if I had to come up with like a parent umbrella for all of these pretty outwardly Christian or maybe a little bit underneath the surface Christian acts, I would think of Cornerstone, which was a massive Christian music festival in, Iowa? No, Illinois, I think. And I believe you would have seen bands like Norma Jean and bands like Reliant K both playing this same festival. So while they're obviously two completely different subgenres, or just genres in general, I do think there is a greater trunk to this tree that both of these bands exist on.
You were right, by the way. Bushnell, Illinois, drawing some 20,000 attendees each year for July 4th.
I remember Still Frame Sky played Cornerstone, which were our hometown heroes.
You know, I didn't want to just always mention them every episode, but this would be the episode to mention them because they had definitely had a Christian lean. And they were, like any other VFW act at the time, very breakdowny as well. So they brought the thunder a bit, so to speak.
Oh my God, yeah.
Them playing Cornerstone feels significant.
It's huge. I mean, it was a one day or one weekend Warped Tour for Christian bands, and them playing was so intense. And I remember like begging my mom to let me go, but I was, I think, a junior in high school, and all of them were like in college, and it cost a good bit of money, and it didn't work out. And that's like one of my biggest, I still have FOMO to this day about missing Cornerstone in like 2008. But yeah, I think all of these bands would have been there. It's, you know, you're not going to see Relient K and, oh my God, who are the other bands? Actually, I have my guitar case right here that would have most of their stickers on it. Waverly. Actually, I have an Underoath sticker on my guitar case. Man, I was so cool in high school.
I agree. I know you're saying that as a joke, but I was there and I thought so.
I fucking loved Underoath. In fact,
so let's tie it all the way back. You didn't go to Cornerstone, but we're establishing the umbrella.
But I went to Scream the Prayer.
The scene was there very much. Yeah, talk to me about that show, or the first time seeing Underoath, first time hearing them. The Wikipedia page is all over the place, but kind of the consistent theme with the song we're covering today. Liken them to Hawthorne Heights. This is 2004.
What?
Things are, I will get into it, believe me. But first impressions, first things that popped to mind. Sounds like this tour certainly did, or the show you saw.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of when I first got into Underoath and just kind of metalcore in general, any of these kind of bands. It all stemmed back to one of my biggest music Sherpas who I talk about all the time. Can you guess who it is? I know who you're going to guess, and it's wrong.
Is it Dan Majeski?
No, it's not.
Is Sam Cray? Was he in Underoath?
He wasn't in Underoath, but I think he did listen to Underoath.
I know he wasn't in the band. Into.
Probably.
Wouldn't that have been a fucking diamond in the rough? Like, oh, wait, we should have him on the show because he was fucking in Underoath.
Moonlighting in Underoath.
You know, I hadn't... A weird Duke Silver storyline for our friend group. Like, oh my God,
and I don't know if
Sam.
you heard, but I was in Chiodos at one point.
There you go.
According to the rumors.
Aaron
it was Cameron. And it was interesting because
that makes all the sense in the world, given the Norma Jean stories we've told on the pod. Yeah.
Because at this point, I was like pretty Christian. Cameron was not, but he introduced me.
They all went to not St. James. You went to St. James. They went to St. Luke's.
Yeah.
Kind of that Mercyhurst-y crowd. So I don't know if that influenced that at all, but definitely those were the Catholic school days. Him and Adam Stolarski, our former bandmate. Maybe there's a pipeline there. I'm not sure, but it checks out to me. That makes enough sense.
But he was in like the BMX biking community, and I remember him specifically saying, "Yeah, if you're into BMX, you're either listening to rap or metalcore." Like you had to pick a side. And I mean, I guess he played it down the middle, but he introduced me to Inhale Exhale, Norma Jean, Underoath, The Devil Wears Prada. And all of those bands.
I mean, we've been pretty friendly to Cameron in our reviews of his friendship, which are glowing, hopefully, is what the show shows. But this is a much bigger Sherpa music specifically role than maybe we even thought before. Because he's probably,
I mean, he's top 3, if not like number 2, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not above ranking our friends. I mean, James, eat your heart out. No,
for me,
but in all seriousness, that's a huge portion of everything you were all about for like 2 or 3 years.
Oh, I know. I mean, he didn't just like open the door, but he blew the door off the fucking hinges for this whole genre I had never had much of an interest in before, with the exception of maybe Alexis on Fire freshman year is like what allowed me to kind of peek into this genre a little bit. But then Cameron came along and was like, yo, here's Norma Jean. Here's
what's interesting, if you watch the cartoon Recess growing up, there's a hustler kid on the playground who just has a raincoat full of watches and stuff at all times. Cameron kind of had that going on with his iPod, because I know he would have like old Adam Sandler routines that were, had swear words in them and were amazing to us. But he'd have those like Aladdin in the Cave of Cheeseburgers videos. He had like MP4s and stuff like that. Like his little iPod, I feel like he'd load up and come to school and be like, hey, you want to hear something? Like, check this out. Like he was the iPod hustler kid of our grade, and it was just like, hey, I got a band for you, Tom. We're just like, hey, I heard you might be into this. Come on over here and share it. Hey, pull over an AirPod, and AirPod, we'll get to know each other a little bit.
What's so interesting is all of our Sherpas on the show had someone in their family who was older and much cooler than all of us. And for Cameron, his cousins were like 4 or 5 years older than him, and they were already in bands in the music scene playing this kind of music. Like, think of 2002 VFW metalcore. His cousin was in those bands.
Interesting.
And we actually, 4 Under Par, recorded at his cousin's recording studio. I still have the drum tracks. We got through the drums, kind of ran out of money, and then broke up. So I have like just
Was this
raw
after
drum
Diecast?
tracks. Yes. Yeah. So this was
Gotcha.
like, I remember actually my first day at PAX Sun, we had like an orientation before Black Friday, which on Black Friday I was wearing, it was cold, so I was wearing pants, and I don't wear pants that often, but when I do, they're still pretty tight. So I'm still wearing skinny jeans. I'm a 30-year-old father wearing hella tight pants, just as tight as they were.
You changed your Twitter bio. You're owning the pop punk dadness. I got to say, I'm here for it. I'm very.
There were
I'm
too
feeling
many.
supportive here.
There were too many adjectives, so I tried to simplify it. But anyway,
Sure.
The first time I ever wore skinny jeans in public was, I think it was 2007. I was working at PAX Sun on Black Friday, selling shoes in Tony Heibel's girl cousin's skinny jeans that she gave to him, he gave to me. And anyways, 15 years later, half a lifetime later, I'm still wearing pants just as tight, which I think 15-year-old me would be pleased. But anyways, this all came back to people older than us handing down this like sacred information of bands that were just so much cooler than anything we could have possibly found on our own. They were onto some new shit in Underøath. So Cameron introduced me to this band. He had a Sony Ericsson phone, which if you didn't have a Motorola Razr, you had a Sony Ericsson. That phone was so cool. And we did ski club together. It was me, Seth, Adam, and Cameron, which was just like, dude, Fridays were the fucking best. We would take like a huge
That's a
coach
murderer's
bus.
row.
Yeah.
I'm still jealous that those took place and I wasn't there. That's amazing.
Cameron and I really like snowboarding like through the woods, like making our own trails through the untouched powder in the woods, weaving in and out through trees. And we were both like so new to snowboarding. It was our first year that we were just like, we were young and dumb, just like, we can do anything, like he was going to backflip over the school bus that they buried in the snow. My second time snowboarding, I went off a 35-foot kicker and landed it. We were just, I don't know, being fucking young and loving life. But anyway, we would build these like ramps in the woods, and he would pull his phone out and play music while we were building ramps. And usually we would take a break to eat in the middle. And they had like, the first time I ever had an Arnold Palmer was at Peak & Peak Ski Resort in, is it in Pennsylvania or New York?
It's in Western New York State.
Okay. Pretty close.
I think
35 minutes.
Pretty close to the state line, if not.
Yeah. So we would do that. Like, they had great chicken fingers. I always packed a peanut butter and jelly because I couldn't afford to buy food there. So I was just snowboarding with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my jacket. And sometimes I would like fall on it and then have to eat a smushed like cold PB&J for dinner.
Yeah. Gotta love it. And somehow that would be enough to sustain you for like the more physical activity than we get in a month nowadays.
So like we would either be building ramps or in the lodge, warming up, eating some food.
Real quick, the first time you have an Arnold Palmer, you have access to both lemonade and iced tea at the same time. Like, this is living. This is
amazing.
It's like Mr. Deeds having fruit punch in the water fountain.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, this is, what else is there, really? This is how the 1% lives, but yes.
Just the best. And I do remember like those huge cans were like $2 for $1 at the grocery store, but they were like $7 at the ski resort because where the else are you going to eat? Like, you don't have any options. Extortion. Anyway, so we would be in that lodge, warming up, getting some food. And I remember one time he was playing Reinventing Your Exit. And oh my God, I forgot we did this. This is so immature. But I think the day he like really introduced me to this song, we would go in the bathrooms and take up the 2 stalls and wait for someone to come into the bathroom and then just like scream as loud as we could, like kicking the stalls and just be like, oh! Just listening to Underoath, pretending to poop our fucking brains out.
Oh, the music was going too.
Well, I don't know if it was, but the day that
I'd
he
like to
introduced
believe that
me-
it was, because it would have added such a sinister scene. Just anyway.
But we used to just, I don't know, try to make people laugh, which, I mean, that's only a 16-year-old would do.
Yeah, that's innocent
kind of
enough.
stuff.
I mean, yeah, that's innocent enough. Also, there's a scene, there's poop stall humor. Poop stall. I have forgotten English, being around an infant so often lately. There is stall poop humor in just about every movie that came out between. Basically ever. Anyone who's targeted that demographic is like, is someone in a stall absolutely shitting out their intestines? It's like, no, then please just force one into the script. This is the only way we can relate to these kids.
Who does number 2 work for?
There are like 5 that, there's a lot that can just come to mind pretty quickly. So anyway, yes, just being silly.
So anyways, Underoath, to me, it's like, that was my first year ever snowboarding or skiing or anything, and it was very early glimpses of freedom where we had like 4 hours at a ski resort. It would be like pitch black and they had lights on, so it was just like, it felt very freeing as a 16, 17-year-old, literally in a different state from your parents. You're on a bus, no one really knows what the hell's going on, and
literally smuggling yourself to the mountain in a bathroom.
Oh, yeah, I did that the year after.
Oh, okay. So you were
sure.
actually in the club for the first
I was in the
session.
club, yeah. The senior year, I think I didn't have the money, so I would sneak on the bus. But anyways, it was, very early experiences of freedom, of being a little bit older as a teenager. And there are distinct memories of when I was listening to Underoath the most is when I was pretty early on and going to the hangout the most, when I really kind of like was integrating into the local music scene and all the kids up there. So Underoath for me it's a winter band. Some of my like the most vivid memories that come to mind when listening to They're Only Chasing Safety specifically is either ski club or driving to the Edinburgh hangout, knowing I'm going to see all of my friends. It's a really special band.
You know what's kind of a mind-blowing thing? I'm looking at the map. Peak and Peak is in New York, but it would take longer to get to Corey. And it's kind of almost equidistant. Edinburgh might be easier to get to because of the interstate, but didn't it feel like forever on the ski bus getting out there?
Sure.
Like it feels like you're going to a different country almost. But yeah, it was just like only kind of into New York, like not that far. So.
And that was the same ski club where that girl Brittany and I shared Apple headphones and listened to Mayday Parade, and she put her head on my shoulder.
That might be the most, if you're just joining the show, that's kind of, it doesn't get much more, that's the anecdote, I think. Of all the anecdotes, that's like the reminiscent anecdote, is Tom sharing an earbud with an old classmate listening to Mayday.
While dating Stephanie, wishing I wasn't.
Sure. That catches you up even further. First impressions of the music itself, had you been, I mean, the scene was double bassy, but the song we're talking about today came out in 2004. We were getting to some of these bands late because, again, another theme of the show, of course, is we needed help discovering these acts, but they were still coming out with music, of course. Had you been exposed to the double bassy scene stuff yet, or were you just kind of like dipping your feet into like a new world of this and that? Did you view it as harder, so to speak?
You know what's interesting is when I was getting into heavier music, it was The Devil Wears Prada and Norma Jean and a little bit of The Chariot, which was like, it was mostly all screaming. So when I found Underoath, it was actually very, very interesting that there was heavier music that had singing, and it felt like this really unique to me at the time in between state of the pop punk that I really loved and this new like metalcore that I was getting into, where it was more like melodic hardcore. It blew my mind because I felt like there were two such distinct and separate genres of music that to hear them come together blew my fucking mind. And I just fell so in love with it.
Would you like to do a few fun facts while we're having fun? Keep the fun train rolling.
Let's do it.
Also, you wanted to earmark this or dog ear the page or whatever. Christ Core draft when, ... in the notes. So,
man.
I don't know how much I could personally help you, but it sounds like there's plenty more of this branch, so to speak, to explore. So
for sure.
We'll have to keep a note there, keep a bookmark that. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Underøath. This is an Underøath episode, so we should talk about them. Stylized spelling, right out of the gate.
Oh,
should probably note that.
Hell yeah. What do you call that?
Oh, hell yeah.
You know what? I don't want to get too far off, but
I was going to say, let's get stranded on the first word of the notes on the
So we talk about a lot of bands these were used for like a while, like churches, churches, whatever. And that became very
the
hip to do.
I got just flamed in college. Some people who were writing on the same staff, the younger kids were like, "Did you just say wavis? Like you mean the waves?" I was like, "Leave now, please. Like I need to go jump off of a bridge." Just brutal. Yeah, wavis. There's two V's, so of course they say it differently. Wavis. Just brutal. Just truly embarrassing.
But it was like really fun to have these stylized whatevers. But Underøath had the zero or the O with the diagonal line through it. I don't know what you call it, but I remember seeing only one other band that tried to incorporate that, and they were just like, "No, that's Underøath's thing." Like somehow all these bands got away with the V as the U, but Underøath owned the dash through the O,
which is a big deal.
Cool. Yeah.
It is a big deal and speaks to how important they were and speaks to it being criminally long. A criminally long amount of time for us to not have talked about them for the first time. They are an American rock band from Ocala, Florida. Same as A Day to Remember, says you, who they would later play a show with, but we'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. Founded by lead vocalist Dallas Taylor and guitarist Luke Morton in 97. Pretty early. I guess it makes sense for the music to be popping by 04. You're putting in, years of hard work and grinding it out, so to speak. I think similar trajectory, weirdly, to Good Charlotte. Some of these late 90s stuff, like you don't think of these bands meeting and getting things going in the 90s, but...
Yellow Card, too. They were late 90s, very like skate punk, and then they blew up in 2004.
Interesting. Originally, the band identified as a Christian group, and they have since distanced themselves from that line of thought.
But like just only a couple years ago, like very recently.
Yes. The band's lineup shifted frequently in its early years. Forgive me for just kind of reading off the page for this one. But Taylor recorded Active Depression, Cries of the Past, and The Changing of Times with the band, and remained with the group until his departure in 03. That's when Spencer Chamberlain replaced him as lead vocalist. Apparently personal issues had hampered the band's frequent touring schedule, thus the switch. And the lineup has been mostly stable since. I think there was some mix-ups, other than, I guess we'll get to Aaron G's coming and going later. The band released, after that change, to Chamberlain. They're only chasing safety and defying the great line. Both earned gold certifications by the RIAA.
They're both
pretty
so
wild
good.
Stuff. Yes, these two albums remain their most commercially successful releases, according to Wikipedia. Or as we like to kind of say on the show, as the story goes. You can Google any of this. After taking the end of 03 off from touring to begin working on Chasing, the band scheduled time in February 04 to begin recording. As the story goes, this was an interesting nugget that we found. The home studio they were using had a neighbor close enough who would have been impacted by the noise, and apparently the neighbor began banging on the door repeatedly while they were recording guitars. And when the band learned that it was a nurse who worked nights, they decided to stop torturing this poor person and shifted rooms and had to re-record nearly half the songs on guitar for this album. So kind of interesting, but thoughtful of them. Good boys, good Christian boys. Both Chamberlain and Aaron G blew their voices during recording, as the story goes. For the latter, for Aaron G, he was briefly hospitalized, apparently, due to blisters forming on his tonsils. Had you heard about this at all? Like, do you have any takes on that? I mean, that is just kind of not even a section to itself on the Wikipedia page. It's just kind of buried in there, but it's like, wait a minute. What the Have you ever heard of that, ever?
I mean, I've heard of like nodules forming on the vocal cords, but never blistered tonsils. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Welcome to The science of learning how to scream, I guess, may have been what that was. You would know more about whether Aaron G was the primary screamer or not. But let's see. Their Only Chasing Safety was released in June of that year. So a few months later, it was released through Solid State Records, proved to be a more commercial success for the band, going on to outsell the previous 3 albums combined, which is a good thing for the band, obviously. Sold close to 100,000 copies in the first week. Whoa. And again, like we said, was eventually certified gold. Aaron G, being the only original member at this point, it sounds like Their Only Chasing Safety had been a vast change in sound and rhythm from what they were performing on earlier records. You threw something in the notes here, and I'm curious to hear the little spice. You're going to add some flav.
Underoath's been out for a long time. And in fact, when we talked about music videos with Shane Drake, the music video director who did Panic at the Disco, Paramore, all kinds of shit, he did a very early Underoath music video from the late 90s.
Really?
I think he said that was one of his first bigger music videos. They were like in a train yard. It seemed pretty, newer band kind of thing. But I listened to it and I was really surprised to hear Underoath sound like that, because I only know them from They're Only Chasing Safety and on.
It's interesting. You think like, oh, they put in their time and then eventually popped. That is not the case. The band basically, what's that joke on Twitter, that old philosophical train of thought where if every part of a boat is replaced after a while, is it the same boat type thing? Like it was not the same band, essentially. Right. They had a new singer and literally almost entirely new lineup for this record, and then it popped. So maybe it was just a new, different band at that point. I think the argument could be made.
And it was really polarizing. A lot of people that loved Underoath before hated the new version of them, and they really blamed Spencer Chamberlain for it because it wasn't as VFW hardcore as it was before.
Oh my God. That's amazing. That's an amazing thing to be upset about in the 2000s. I love doing this podcast. But I could see why, right? Like if you'd been riding with them this whole time, and then all of a sudden it's new and more fans are pouring in, and it's an entirely different experience for someone who's genuinely enjoying it. So I guess I can relate to a certain degree there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, Reinventing Your Exit. And It's Dangerous, which is, we should stay at 40 minutes or so into the podcast. That is the music video we'll be discussing in a minute. And It's Dangerous Business, Walking Out Your Front Door, which honestly, did we mention that in the long song title draft? I can't remember.
I think Melissa mentioned it on Twitter. I think we missed it.
I was going to say, that's a decent character count. One thing that her thread on Twitter brought up in my eyes was we went for just pure character count, and her list was very thoughtful and like songs she enjoyed.
Right.
We probably should have taken that approach looking back, but It's Dangerous Business, Walking Out Your Front Door. That's a lot of characters.
It's such a good song.
Heavy hitter
Jesus.
too. Anyway, Reinventing Your Exit. So they were released as the albums to sing. Oh goodness, Tom. Back and Better Than Never. Okay, they were released as 2 singles off of the album, and both spawned music videos that received frequent airplay on MTV2 and Fuse, which is an interesting thing to note on the internet. It kind of hints that it didn't get a lot of main MTV love,
right.
Not a lot of TRL time, which maybe makes it better and maybe speaks to why Fuse got big for a bit. Andrew Satcher, for a retrospective piece in the Brooklyn Vegan, referred to this album as one of melodic metalcore's biggest mainstream breakthroughs. Thoughts,
wow.
Tom?
I mean, I think so, right? And not that I am a metalcore historian, but I feel like everyone knew Underoath. Even people that didn't really listen to this genre knew a few songs on this album.
Part of me is like, who else would it be?
I know, right?
You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, let me tie in this other thing the Wikipedia page just kind of shoehorns in. Reinventing Your Exit evokes the material of Hawthorne Heights.
I don't think so.
I mean, when you watch the video, you're kind of like, it's not too terribly different. But if we're talking about melodic metalcore's biggest mainstream breakthroughs, Hawthorne Heights comes to mind, I guess.
I will say Cameron also introduced me to Hawthorne Heights around this time, so maybe there's something there.
I mean, when I first mentioned this to you before the show, you were like, what? I'm like, I hope they're kind of similar because it sounded similar as hell to me.
It's not, I don't know. I mean, if you really want to...
I mean, it sounded like a take from the Brooklyn Vegan piece, one of melodic metalcore's biggest mainstream breakthroughs. There are only a handful pre-2005? There can't be that many that, obviously Underøath, it was enough to own the, not umlaut, but it was enough to own the crossed out O. So, yeah, sure. No, nobody else was doing it much bigger at that point, I guess. So I think I'm fine with him crowning that as such. March 2005, Underøath participated in the inaugural Taste of Chaos tour, and shortly after embarked on their first headlining tour. The band premiered 2 brand new songs during the length of the tour, eventually joining Warped Tour for a stretch. Their Only Chasing Safety was later re-released in a 2-disc set with 4 formerly unreleased songs. Ooh. Also included was a remastered album artwork by Jacob Bannon of Converge, and a DVD with more than 2 hours of footage of the band touring in support of the album. Peter Jackson someday will turn that into a 3-part DVD series chronicling the voyage of the band.
I don't think this is the same DVD. I think it might have been after Define the Great Line, but they put out a DVD called 777. And one of my first tattoos was 777 in a laurel wreath. And a lot of people are like, oh,
you and Zach got really into the Christian core shit. Zach even got he went through like this owl phase.
Yeah.
Owl, sorry if I'm pronouncing it in a strange way, but OWL, owl, like the
owl.
Bird. Owl.
Yeah, I've got some owls. I have 2 owls.
777 owls. There was it influenced your tat game for a minute. It did more than just change what was on your iPod. I feel like you guys really fell into it.
Yeah. I do have 2 owls tattooed on me, but the 777, people are like, oh, you like gambling, huh? And I was like, no, I used to be a Christian. And I mean, apparently 777 is like biblical.
I like how you talk about it as if you used to be an addict of some sort though as well. Like, nah, it was the booze for me, Christianity.
But it's like biblical numerology that to me is like, as an atheist now, it's kind of like, man, I'm glad I didn't get like a fucking cross or what was it called? The Cairo tattooed on me. Anyways.
What was the bigger stretch? The numbers 777 in a row or the owl, the animal, as far as symbols go?
I mean, I just liked the owl.
In hindsight.
There was no symbolism. I just liked it.
Well, yeah, I guess as far as tats go, you could just say you like owls later in life. You don't have to, pony up.
It
to
was
the
actually,
but maybe you
it wasn't even my idea. My tattoo artist, I told the story on episode 250 with Jess, where my tattoo artist was like, hey, I want to tattoo something on you. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Like, it'll be a surprise when I'm done. And one of them was...
Oh, that's right.
One of them was a lowl, which is a laugh out loud owl. And the other one is like this big owl on my knee that she actually did because I think when I was going to get more of my sleeve done, she wasn't ready. But I had to book way ahead of time. So she was like, I'll do something for free. Do you want an owl? And I said, yeah. So they were actually not even my idea. She liked owls. So now I have 2 of them.
They're majestic birds, are they not? And they can turn their head in a creepy way. It's fun. It's just fun, okay? And you know what? That's what we come to here. That's what we come for. We gather. We talk about... Look, we'll talk about anything, guys. All right? We're just having fun. We're just having a good time. Owls? Sure. All right. No, but seriously, following the 6th studio album, I'm bringing this up because this kind of speaks to the more recent history of the band itself. Aaron G. left the group and was replaced by former Norma Jean drummer Daniel Davidson. I'm saying it that way because reading his name, doing notes this week, I just could only think of Kevin G. from Mean Girls. So in my head, every time I see Aaron's name, I just think, oh, Aaron G. That's just a me thing. So I'm just trying to explain why that's been going on.
And no one's sure how to pronounce
I'm a little
his
afraid
last
to try
name,
to.
so we'll just.
I know. Yeah, no. You know me too well. That's exactly what the real reason is. But also, I did think of the Mean Girls thing. Okay. But in August 2015, the band announced they had reunited, and in doing so, Aaron G. returned to the lineup after performing at A Day to Remember's Self-Help Fest in 2016. And that's when they announced their 8th studio album. And apparently, there's a follow-up coming titled Voyeurist. It's coming in January 2022. Apparently. So that kind of makes a little timely spin to the episode.
Their new music is super duper good.
Whoa.
And they say
high
in
praise.
it. They're like,
Whoa.
they're very no longer Christian.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, at that 2015 show, apparently, or no, at the Self-Help Fest, they had kind of publicly abandoned their Christian musical approach.
Yeah.
Beginning with these most recent records. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Underoath and Taylor Swift, now green light to just use everywhere. So.
Right. So,
okay.
All right, everyone, I hope you're enjoying the episode, but please allow me to briefly break in and thank our Council of Elders. These are our top-tier Patreon supporters. In this group, we have Andre Prevost, Johnny Leftwich, Jason Carey, Anonymous, Chris Lukey, Nathan Eshelman, Drew Edwards, Kerry Sanchez, Melanie, and Devin Booz. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. We've been able to do some really, really fun projects and bring them to life because of all the support we're receiving in the Patreon from all of our supporters. If you'd like to check it out, you can head to patreon.com/reminiscent and check out the 3 tiers that we offer. We've got behind-the-scenes photos and videos, weekly post shows, discounts on all our merch, monthly AMAs, and all kinds of stuff. Again, that link is patreon.com/reminiscent, but back to the episode.
Anyway, we're running a little long. We haven't even talked about this pretty interesting music video. Like, let's not just breeze through all of this, cram a bunch of anecdotes in, and sit here and say that this wasn't a pretty fucking fantastic music video.
So I didn't really watch a lot of music videos growing up. YouTube wasn't even invented yet, so where were you going to get this unless you had Fuse at home, which I did not. Which, by the way, we were talking about music videos and you mentioned me always having Fuse on at my house, and I said that I didn't have cable. My mom swears we had cable, and I don't know what to fucking believe anymore.
Honestly, doing this show, I have given up being right about just about anything, because you and I have, I think this might be just a human tendency to take every memory and glob them into the different time periods, you like the little dividers in your life, and like, oh, that was this high school memory, so I must have been seeing that at Tom's. But you're also like not 85 yet, so you're like still kind of sure you're right about certain things. So you're like, no, we weren't. I'm like, Tom, I spent, like, you talk about Gladwell's 10,000 hours. Like, I put my 10,000 hours in of experiencing shit at your house. And like, if I'm an expert in not that, then I don't know what truth means in life anymore. God. So I'm glad your mom said that, because that leaves a shred of hope that I just like was conscious watching TV at any given point at your house throughout my entire high school experience. So that warms my heart. I don't even need to know if it's true. Just the doors open.
But anyway, the music video is one of the few videos I remember knowing at a younger age, because I thought it was really well done. I thought it was pretty intriguing. Yeah,
we got a man in a red shirt, and there's 3 doors. That's a classic opening in my book. Pick a door. Let's go. Let's fucking go. And the middle door is just curtains, red curtains, mystical as hell. He goes left first, starting from the left, as if you were reading English from left to right. So he goes left.
Thank you for defining left for us.
I've been talking to an infant for a while. She's like, hey, 1, 2, 3, ABC, left, right, just starting real basics. So we're just going way down to the basics here for the next few months. Years? ? Okay. But he goes there and it's kind of anticlimactic. It's just a bathroom, but it's not anticlimactic. He does the most epic, like, water on the face shave cream commercial splash I've ever seen. He takes like a gallon of water and just yeets it all over his fucking dome.
In slow motion.
And it is amazing. Yeah, it's like, okay, man, doors, got it, bathroom, wait a minute. How much water did that motherfucker just splash on his face?
I know, the shot after
lot.
The slow motion shot, we see his Chuck Taylors, and it's like someone emptied an entire like mop bucket behind him.
It
somehow.
Has nothing to do with. No other shots in the video are this slow or epic. They just like focus on this splash so intently, and it's amazing, but it makes no fucking sense, which makes it even more amazing, arguably. Anyway, somebody's in the fucking bathroom, and like you get this kind of jarred, like stall door situation. Might have been you and Cameron listening to the music. Pretending to scream and poop. Probably not, though. Anyway, he gets spooked and he runs.
Well,
right?
I mean, he's going to get caught after dumping all that water on the floor. He's got to get out of there.
Yeah, bro, you're making a mess. You're ruining the wedding. Get out of here. She's not coming back.
Oh boy. Then we get a shot of the band, right? Isn't that the next thing we see?
Yeah, he kind of enters a bar. He's not back where he started. So now he's definitely in whatever this maze is. He went from room where there's doors to bathroom. Now he's in a bar. And yeah, we get a few band shots. They're the house band at this particular place.
Oh my God. And what a sight. Oh my God. We have
what a sight.
So much happening with this band on the stage right now.
Great tight jeans / random other high school cross country t-shirts / wrist bands. Like this is an extremely 2004 band, and it warmed my heart. I'll be the first to admit I wasn't the biggest, like, at the time Underøath fan, or even Underøath fan now, but like an appreciator of Aaron G, of course, as anyone who was alive at the time would be. I think there was like that almost song was on the radio a lot when I was working at the college radio station. It was an earworm for sure. But you were just like aware how talented that person was. Anyway, he's there making it happen. I didn't realize the tight shirt game.
Oh, God.
Them being small lent, I guess, real estate for the belt to become important. Like we talk about all these parts of the emo uniform. I didn't realize the tight shirt necessitated an interesting belt because the belt loops were very f***ing visible. Like you had to get a shirt that just stopped at the pant top, which is like a fine line to walk. But it made the belt, you needed to have an interesting belt, and that explains why we all had, people would put them off to the side, they'd have f***ing seatbelts and shit. It was wild.
I always wanted to be like the very lanky scene kid. I'm just like Irish and Polish, so my body is not built like that. I'm 5'9" on a good day, like not very tall. I'm a little bit stocky. But the thing that
I'm reading this book called Small Time by Russell Shorto. It's about the Italian mob in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, where my mom grew up, and the types of immigrants he describes, like our ancestors basically, that came over to do the jobs that they were, you know, doing mining, things like that, working at steel mills. Yes, you just described like every person that is the reason Erie exists. It's just like a city full of Polish and Irish and like people who are shaped a certain way. So like maybe our scene didn't have the best belt game in the country, but not for lack of trying for sure. But it's interesting that you say that because reading this book, I kept thinking about like why we are the way we are more or less. And that could be a reason. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's a fucking stretch.
So to show off the belt like that, you needed to have some length to your body because you had to wear a shirt that was super tight, but it was probably like a children's medium, and it would stop. I mean, it was barely not a crop top, so you can get that belt showing. For me, being shorter, even if my shirt was tight, it would still cover the belt. So then I was just wearing a tight shirt, and you couldn't even get. Yeah. I mean, I had the flashy belts. I had the seatbelt belt, and I had the DC belt with the big buckle, the white belt. I never had the studs, but I fucking wish. My sister actually sent me this really funny Instagram reel or whatever the hell of the caption was, it's 2003 and you walked in front of a Hot Topic and saw a studded belt for the first time. And it was like the guy's reaction was just great. I'll put it in the show notes.
You'll never know peace again.
But yeah, man, I mean, they are looking so seen, how like what the scene looked like when I was just getting into it, and I wasn't like,
well, dude, it's interesting that you mentioned Yellow Card and all those other bands at the beginning of the episode popping in 04, and that's really when kind of MCR and if you listen to our show, you know that 05 was like when our high school started, but also like weirdly historically musically when when From Under the Corkery kind of just like burned the world to a crisp, or
Fueled by
Roman did. Right. And they weren't the only game in town, but it is as if everybody in the world was like, okay, Dashboard got booed, but like we're thinking long term. Get anybody, pluck them, put them in front of a fucking camera immediately. Because it's interesting how many different types of emo bands were all of a sudden in front of our eyes in 04. Like decisions were fucking made, basically, I think is what we're realizing as we do the show. Like 04 was just like, it's not a chance thing that we're still figuring out anymore. They are getting us something the kids will cry for, so to speak, to pull a phrase from that MC Lars song we so often cite.
I mean, and they put an orange amplifier in front of every camera lens as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're plucked out of the fucking VFW hall, man. They really are. Like, future videos weren't this, I didn't expect it to be this raw, but it's a really good first Underøath episode to do,
it's so great.
They're pretty green, man, but they're killing it. They're doing a good job. Anyway, so this guy, he's there, kind of notices the band. That's not really the point of the story of the show, but of course you're going to have the band performing in like one of their early major music videos. Goes back into the bathroom, and comes out confused because now he's on like, it's a cityscape, he's on a roof.
Yeah.
And he like puts dust or gravel off the top of the roof and then turns back for a moment, but then just jumps. Like this guy is running from something. He's like, whatever game this is, he needs to be moving forward by any means possible. And we figure out soon thereafter that he's on meth because he lands and keeps running after he jumps off the building. So this guy is not sober by all accounts and is just moving forward at all costs.
Well, dude, the jumping off the roof thing was so interesting to me because he kind of, he throws the dust off the roof and he turns around and then he's running for like 20 seconds and he's jumping over some obstacles on the roof. I don't know if they're like pipes or skylights or something, but it kind of got me thinking that like it would have been such a better conservation of his energy. I feel like he wasted so much of it jumping over these obstacles before he got to the end. He probably just should have started closer to the end, but the dude never breaks a sweat.
Yeah, was he jumping from building to building and then off of another one? The camera work was odd to me.
Right. I didn't know if he was jumping from building to building or what, but the dude never breaks a sweat. The dude's not huffing and puffing. But when he jumps off the edge, I'm expecting him to land on a different building, and he lands 35 stories down on the ground as if he just hopped off of a curb. Like he doesn't tuck and roll. He just lands and then keeps going.
I refuse to go back to jail. I'm going to run on broken legs on a drug high for several more blocks.
The bath salts are kicking in.
Yeah. No, yeah. He's going to be Superman for approximately 90 seconds.
About to start eating faces.
Right. Anywho, yes. When you think about why he ran backwards so far to then jump, it's like, well, who knows what the f*** is going on in this game. He ends up, someone grabs him, like kind of horse collar tackles him into an alley, hits a new door. Now he's in the Sound of Music, more or less. It's this beautiful like field of greenery.
Well, I do want to slow down there for a second because
all right.
This shot, so he gets thrown up against the wall, as the lyrics would imply.
That's true. That yes, it is timed.
And so this short 5 or 10 second sequence is what really stood out in my mind as like, this band is not as green maybe as you think they are. Like this sequence is so well done. He gets thrown up against the wall and the camera in the entire scene turns 90 degrees. So he looks like he's laying on the floor, and then everything turns 180 and he's hanging from a pipe. So it's like the entire world is spinning in circles and tumbling over itself. So he's hanging from a pipe. He lets go and he lands in Switzerland somewhere. But that whole sequence is so cool. I mean, the way you have to like time that with the camera turning and the lens perfectly center, and you have to design the set to look good in whatever orientation. I just think that part was so well done. I couldn't find the name of the director of the video, but whoever came up with this sequence, they get a head nod from me because it is very well done. It's very cool, very interesting cinematic little sequence there in the music video that I really enjoy.
Before we run through what happens to this man, can we talk a little bit about the band performing for like another quick second? Well, there's a couple things I want to touch on. Thoughts on scene bands that had too many people for the size of the stage they were on in the small town they were in, and they couldn't really move, but they were giving it their all. I think there's something admirable about that. I really like that. But there's kind of that energy in this video. You also mentioned Aaron G singing into the mic in a strange way in your eyes.
Yeah, so near the end of Four Under Par, I was on drums and I was also doing backup vocals. I remember having a microphone on a boom stand way far away that was kind of coming down from over my head, and I would turn the mic to the side and kind of sing into it, but it was out of the way of my arms. And that's the way I've typically seen any drummer who's doing also vocals try to sing into a mic. Aaron has it on a straight stand, and he really cranes his neck over to that thing to sing into the mic while he's playing. And I just think it's like interesting that he could have made it so much easier on himself, but I think the way he does it looks cooler. And to bring up Still Frame Sky again, I think their drummer Josh also did vocals. He had long hair like Aaron Gillespie. He played exactly like him, and I think he also had the microphone in this way, and it is just so cool. I mean, this band has everything. We talked about the orange amps, the track and field shirts, the belts, dual vocalists. They've just got it going on, man. They've got a good look.
Yeah. No, everything about it makes sense. What their trajectory was like. No, this tracks for sure. Also, you mentioned like fashion over function. I guess maybe that's the wrong way to put it, but every part of Scene Kid attire is built around the idea that you're not going to be comfortable. So like, it makes sense to me.
Might as well look good.
Right, exactly. Yeah. This guy sees himself, get a quick Spider-Man meme. It's him in the field facing him. And he starts running again. This man is very in shape and just a lot of cardio. And he jumps again off of, I guess, a nearby cliff from himself. And then he gets back into the bathroom. In the stall, though, and then he tries to open it, but sees himself again, thinking it's the guy who was chasing him. And then, but it's him who spooked himself from earlier. So we're getting kind of like a, whoa, this is kind of, you know, it's kind of your first hint that this is a very, you know, fun music video. Like we have covered much worse music videos on this show. It's like, all right, yeah, this is great. I'd love to see how this ends.
No, I think it's cool because the whole time you're kind of like, what is he running from? And then you realize it's himself tricking himself.
You're always running from yourself,
right,
Tom. Yeah.
Right. He's like, he tricked himself to jump off the cliff. And then he is now the guy who spooked himself earlier. And dude, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, the rest of the video is similar. He's constantly running in and out of the bar. And you see him end up in the place where the 3 doors are at the beginning. And he runs in through the curtains finally, because it's kind of like the next choice for him. But then someone follows him. It's him again following him, and that person runs through. So the door on the right is only for coming out of the bathroom, I guess, after your journey's complete. Either way, constantly running from himself, and it's a never-ending cycle, which is, you know, as far as life outlooks go, sure, that still applies, I think. Why not?
I thought it was really an intriguing video. It reminds me a little bit. Do you remember that LCC short? I think it was Dave in his basement constantly running into this door and coming down the stairs, and then he came back up the stairs and he came out a different door, and it was just like really quick iMovie editing of one person coming in here, going out there. That kind of blew my mind, the way that could be edited together in such a fun way, I think.
Yeah, it was like iMovie meets silent movie era comedy, but it worked. You know, it was like 3 people trying to find each other in the same house or in the same room, but they kept coming out of different doors and, you know, you cut it together because the camera was stationary. It was pretty cool for a bunch of young kids, I thought.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
I remember that one. I hated that you just had to, like, depending on what day you were at Dave's, was whether or not you were on the next semi-viral video that came out from our friend group. I just, like, wasn't there that day and missed one of the best ones. I was very jealous of that. I was like, damn, this is amazing.
Yeah, it was great. Man, I missed being just young kids. Like, you want to make a video? Which, by the way, someone, was it Katie, asked for the emo show as like the next Patreon thing.
We have a couple pages written. Not probably in the format they're supposed to be, but fuck it. Sure. Yeah, I am extremely here for keeping a silly idea going. And if you're listening and you run Adult Swim, give us an emo show, damn it. Sure. Yeah, we'll put a couple silly lines of dialogue up on the Patreon for anyone who would watch an emo show, because there should be an emo show. Why the not? There's so many streaming services. Come on, Paramount Plus, hit us up.
Hey, I have a new camera lens being delivered tomorrow, so I'm ready.
We will 1,000% exploit our nostalgia. We've been doing it for years, plural. Okay, but yeah, we'll do that because it would be fun, and you know, we are never shy about thinking new ways to put stuff in the Patreon. We do this every year, though. We do Q&As in the Patreon throughout the year, and then for the holidays, we do one for December 24th, kind of we want you to enjoy the holiday episode before the holiday, and then on the actual closest day to, I guess it would be Christmas, we'll give you a Q&A to give you a taste of what those kind of look like, what you get behind the scenes. So if you have any questions, feel free to tweet us at _reminiscentfm or DM us on Instagram. If you're already in the Patreon, go ahead and leave us a message there. We'll answer any of your questions, publish that as a full episode. Also, 2022 will eventually be what the year is. So, yeah, very preliminary, but Scorchfest will happen at some point, so prepare yourselves.
I think we're going to try to do the AMA live as well. Like, do it live for the Patreon people, where they can kind of listen and interact in real time, and then later we'll put out the episode.
Tom's a YouTuber at heart. He wants to He wants the lo-fi beats.
Oh,
Nothing wrong with
man.
it. Yeah. Why not do it live? We've had some fun experimenting with that stuff, but we'll also release it as an episode.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, right? Okay, cool. And then, Scorch Fest will come probably sooner in the year than later. So start developing just the hottest, steamiest possible takes for just what hopefully is maybe even a 2-part episode run of just utter chaos and disregard for human life. Who knows?
And I would like to get everyone's to send us voice memos and shit too. I think that would be fun.
Sure. In any way possible. You can ask for our personal numbers and text us. We'll figure out a way. Maybe we'll start a Google Drive. Last year, if you're just joining us, our listener, Nathan, it was funny. Apologies to Dylan, by the way. I had attributed a tweet to Nathan and not Dylan. And Dylan tweeted us a rather sad gif, like, I guess I'll just go myself. Apologies to Dylan. Sorry. Anyway, it was Nathan who won last year's Scorch Fest with the take that every Newfound Glory song is hot garbage, which is the hottest take. I couldn't even think, wouldn't even have thought that to be a take. So give us your best
Which
shots.
was recently redacted as well.
No, interesting. Yeah. So after he won the golden, we'll buy a golden colored spatula off Amazon and send it to him just like last year. It's fun. It's meant to be fun. So I guess you're allowed to be ruthless. I know we put a bunch of fire gifs on Twitter when we're promoting Scorch Fest, but it's mostly for fun. So whatever. Anyway, give us your best takes, the steamiest possible. Buckle up for some anecdotes, buckle up for some takes. It'll be a good time, but start preparing, and we'll probably put out some dates soonish for that.
Yep.
My song of the week, Tom, something I didn't forget and isn't being injected into this episode, is Valentine by Snail Mail. Oh. I love Snail Mail, and I love this song by Snail Mail. I think I already did Heart Attack Man's Pitch Black, but I would pick it for the second week in a row. But I've been off for so long raising a child that I should at least have a few new ones, right? Anyway, so Valentine by Snail Mail is my pick this week. Very good.
Nice. I've been listening to Taylor Swift a lot. She came out with Red, Taylor's version, I think 2 weeks ago. I got my signed copy of the CD in a couple days ago. But the from the Vault song, Better Man, it's really, really good. I enjoy it a lot. I love Taylor Swift. Yep.
But on to the post show.
Post show.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm glad we finally. There's still
Aaron G.
There's still so much more to talk about with Underøath, so we're gonna.
We're leaving a lot
soon.
A lot of meat on the bone. Yeah, by design. We want to do more Underøath stuff, and maybe even some almost stuff, because I'd like to talk about Say This Sooner at some point.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's good to be back. We'll talk about being kind of back on the horse. I know we officially, post me becoming a dad, recorded the
Flavor of
the Week episode, but we're kind of back on the, back in the flow now. So we'll talk about that in the post show a little bit, and maybe some other things. And we love you all.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I love you too.
Love
Tom.
you, man. Bye.
Bye.
All right, friends, we are just getting our toes wet with some Christcore, and I guarantee you there is going to be more soon. There's even going to be more Underøath episodes soon as we celebrate the release of their upcoming album. Hit us up on Twitter at _reminiscentfm. Let us know what you thought of the episode, and let us know what your favorite Underøath song is. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.